Hi, everybody. I'm just waiting until we get more people logged on. Just bear with me. Admit all. Just trying to get everybody on here. If you guys have a question, go ahead and ask. I'm just letting people in. Nobody has a question. I'm trying. Just getting everybody logged on. Just bear with me for a few minutes while we get everybody logged on, and then I'll answer questions people have. We'll go over what's happening right now, the slowdown that we see in the courts, and what we can anticipate going forward. And life is happening to me right now. I'm in Baltimore trying to get back to California. All right, let's see what we got going on. What is the difference between an incorporated city and an unincorporated city? An incorporated city means when they put their city together, they became incorporated. Unincorporated means they run off the county. Okay. Cities have their own police, fire, etc. Counties have their own. If you're not within the city, then the county has to cover you. Make sense? So it all depends on how they set the city up when they set the city up within the county. I hope that answers your question. Hello, AOA. Hello. AOA told us that we cannot serve 3-day notices to any Los Angeles property, including San Fernando Valley, or we might be fined per day. I wouldn't do anything in LA County right now because of their very strict moratorium. I would contact Fast Eviction Service and ask them about the 3-day notice to serve in LA. Because Fast Eviction Service will give you free legal over the phone, and they're a law firm. So rather than have an apartment association tell you, I would contact legal counsel. Make sense? They may not be able to tell you exactly because they're not attorneys. I hope that makes sense. So if you're looking for me to give you an answer, I'm not going to give you one. But I would, because you just threw me for a loop. I'm 90% sure. I'm 95% sure that you can serve a notice for non-payment of rent for the month of October in LA County. Okay. LA City might be a totally different set of facts. They have 1 year of protections, whereas the county has 6 months. But yeah, that's a good question. I would call Fast Evict and ask them, just because they're free legal on the phone, or you can call your attorney, whatever works better. Okay, hang on. I see another question coming through. I'm reading in the Los Angeles Court Tenant Protection Bulletin. It says, what do the county's COVID-19 tenant protections includes? It prohibits rent increases or pass-throughs for rent stabilized units in unincorporated areas of the county. My city is Huntington Park is incorporated. Can I raise rent now? Well, I love you for asking, but let's talk about raising rent right now. And I'm still letting people in, so bear with me if I'm poking at the screen. Sorry. I'm in the car with a snoring 3-year-old. Hey, life is happening to me. Sorry. I have questions. Did your tenant pay rent throughout the entire pandemic period? If the answer to that is yes, the tenant did pay the rent through the pandemic period, then I have a question for you. If your tenant paid the rent throughout the pandemic period and didn't make you have to get a forbearance on your mortgage, and the tenant didn't make you have to apply for the government funds, and they didn't rake you through the coals through this whole pandemic period, I don't think increasing their rent as soon as humanly possible is the best business practice. I mean, if they did us right and didn't cause us harm during this pandemic, is that the way we want to thank them? And that's just me talking to you about keeping the balance right. I get that prices are going up what market value is, but you need to understand something. That is not going to stay that way. We're in a false market right now. It has the only thing to do with is supply and demand. So why all these owners are increasing their rents and all these sales prices are going up, eventually that bubble's going to burst. And if you have a tenant in your property paying that really high rent, they're going to move out. And my theory is, because I went through this in 08 and 09, is call them, bring it back down to market level and keep the tenant there paying that lower rent, because it's cheaper to keep them than you're not flipping a vacant unit, which is carpet cleaning, paint. You guys know it's expensive to flip a vacant. Costs us time and money, right? So be prepared to start lowering rents just as quickly as you're prepared to start raising them. Make sense? We can't keep paying $22 for a 2x4. The supply and demand is insane. I did a little bit of research last week because I read an article that got my attention and sent me down a rabbit hole. And I'll share it with you guys just for a minute, and it'll give you something to think about, okay? The article read 80,000 deaths in the state of California alone due to COVID. And my thought was, only 80,000 people have died from COVID in California? But the CDC told us that it was just like the flu. A lot of people would get sick and a small amount of people would die. 3% of the population of the state, of the nation, is what they told us. But I'm looking at the 3% number by the CDC. So I wanted to do some research because they made this article sound, it's so scary, go get vaccinated. 80,000 people have died. So I wanted to know, 80,000 people have died in the whole state. How many people do we have in the state of California? I mean, what is that ratio? So I went down a rabbit hole and I found out that in 2017, we had 39 million people in the state of California. 39 million in 2017. Okay, but the CDC says that our state is 78% vaccinated. So maybe this mandate that Newsom just gave on vaccinating school children will fill up the other 25% that have not been vaccinated, and that'll keep the powers that be happy. So what is our population in California? Well, according to the CDC, it's almost 78 million people. So my question becomes, pay attention. You mean to tell me in the last 4 years, California has almost completely doubled their population? That explains supply and demand. Where are all these people coming from? I would guess our open borders. And the fact, and this isn't fact, it's just not talked about a lot, that all the other states send their homeless to California to live because of our great weather. So with all that being said, there's almost 80 million people just in the state of California. That's insane. That's insane. Okay, sorry. I know I went down a rabbit hole. My bad. Okay. You got rent relief all the way up to April. Got he rent relief for up to April. He's paying half of what the market says. Okay. I'm just telling you to be careful with what the market is. It's not going to stay that way. And I don't want you to expose yourself to potential litigation trying to increase your rents when you're just going to most likely have to decrease them when the bubble bursts. So work really hard right now, maybe for a month, maybe 2 months. I don't know. My crystal ball's broken. But it just seems, I get it. I own investment property too. I get it. We want to get what everybody else is getting. But at the same time, we need to think clearly and make sure that our decisions that we're making are benefiting all parties involved. Okay, we want to keep them, believe it or not. Anybody have anything that they want to discuss? I'm going to just briefly remind everybody, and I know I do this every week, Do not put rents that were owed during the COVID protected period on a disposition of security deposit unless the tenant has given you in writing, which means pen and ink on paper, not an email and not a text. It does not count, stating that you can deduct past due rents out of their security deposit. If they don't do that, you have to give the deposit back for the rent period. If there's damage all day long, you can deduct and keep that. But you cannot put the monies owed during the protected period on a disposition of security deposit. It is retaliatory and they can fine you lots of money. We don't need that. Okay. I know, I'm trying. Does anybody have anything else that they want to discuss or talk about? Somebody asked me earlier today, and I thought it was quite interesting. I'm trying to figure out how to say this without incriminating the person that asked me the question. So let me ponder that for a quick second and see what this next question is. Is there owner move-in in LA County? How many years must the owner stay? Yeah, you can do an owner move-in that the owner is moving in LA County. But this is me talking to you again. You need to stay in that property for 3 to 5 years. Because at least a minimum of 3 would be at least 3 years. And here's where I think that might bite if you advertise it for rent after they vacate. So 3 years is the ideal number for an owner to stay in a owner move-in. And if relocation is required, you'd still have to pay that. And my question becomes, how desperately does the owner need to move in? Because if it's in the county of LA, I would serve the notice on April Fool's Day of next year to vacate and avoid the extension of the protected period. If it's in the city of LA, I'd wait the year. I know that sounds horrible, but the reality is they are going to I don't want to say they are going to. It is most likely that it will be argued in court. And I don't want anybody to be in the legal process right now. It's a nightmare. I don't have to tell you guys, I'm sure you've heard the stories, but we have people that have been in litigation for 18 months, still don't have possession of their unit, and still don't have a solid answer on their case. There's no case law. So everything is being argued. 98, it used to be prior to the pandemic that if we filed for an eviction, it was a 50-50 shot if the tenant was going to fight us. Remember? 50-50 shot. Now it's 98%. 98% of all cases filed in the state of California are currently being contested. 98%. The most expensive thing that we pay for in our business is litigation. So avoid it. I know the tenant's been a pickle, they've been a pain in your rear, and they're driving you crazy. Just wait. It's not worth it. Some of those retaliatory fines can be implemented on a monthly basis at $2,500 per month. Ouch. So I don't like to play in the pond when the water's this hot. I guess that's the nicest way I could say this. How about if the owner asks for the house back and then sells it in LA County? Are they still protected? Let me try a different approach. In the event you have an open escrow, and I know this because I'm a real estate broker, just so I put that out there. In the event that you have an open escrow, you can serve the tenant a 30-day notice to terminate the tenancy only if the buyer intends on occupying the premises. And it must say that in the notice. We have an open escrow and the buyer intends on occupying the premises. Okay? That being said, remember what I just told you about litigation and how everything's being heavily litigated? The chances of your escrow falling apart while you're in the legal battle are very high. Let's be honest. Nobody's going to wait 6 months, 12 months to buy a house while it goes through the legal system to find out if you can get possession or not. Once your escrow dies, so does your court case. And you can't file a new court case until you have a new buyer in escrow. I hope that made sense. So if it were me, I'd do some knocking and talking and offer them some cash for keys to go. And I beg you guys, please don't offer $500. It's insulting. You wouldn't move for $500. Don't expect them to. And be realistic when they tell you there is nowhere to go, because I'm telling you, look around, there's nowhere to go. Okay, supply and demand. Remember, our population in our state has doubled in the last 4 years. Doubled. We had 39 million in 2017. That just floors me. Floors me. All right. Anybody have anything else that they want to discuss? I got asked earlier today. Now I remembered where my blonde brain went. If there were going to be any additional extensions on this. No. I think come the end of this year, we'll see all of this start to slow down regarding COVID and COVID protections and COVID deaths and this and that. Who knows? But I don't see any other legislation sitting on the chart that's looming over us to extend this any further. I think that the last extension that we had of the additional 3 months, that Senate Bill 91 was supposed to be the wake up call to tenants of, hey, this is over with. You got 90 days. You better figure it out. Because quite frankly, we didn't need that 3-month extension, in my opinion. It was more to notify tenants to get their stuff together. Situation normal is about to happen. So I think that's why that last extension happened. We won't see anything going forward. In fact, Senate Bill 91 stops municipalities from writing their own moratorium regarding COVID. So if you're in another city and you're worried about them writing something or doing something, they can't. The law stopped them. So the only places in the Southern California region that currently have additional tenant protections and restrictions are the county of San Diego, the entire county, the entire county of Los Angeles for 6 months in San Diego, 6 months in Los Angeles, and then 12 months in the city of Los Angeles is how Senate Bill 91, or how the municipalities have their moratorium. Basically, that law said no new cities or counties can put new moratorium into place regarding COVID, but people with existing moratoriums can exercise those moratoriums once a protected period ends. Hence why we have 12 months in the city of LA, 6 months in the county of LA, and 6 months in the county of Riverside. If you're in San Bernardino, or not Riverside, I'm sorry, San Diego. If you're in Riverside, Ventura, Santa Barbara, San Bernardino, and I'm not going to go up that way, Inyo County, Kern County. Can you tell I know my counties? It's almost free. There's light at the end of the tunnel. We have a special 3-day notice to use until March 31st for tenants that were in the property during the protected period. For tenants that were not in the property during the protected period, meaning they moved in on October 1st or later, have no COVID protections. So for those owners that have been sitting on their vacant units going, I don't want to rent, I don't want to get involved, I don't want to put my foot in the pond, I don't like the temperature of the water, I'm just going to sit on my vacant. Rent your vacants. Now's the time, folks, because if they didn't live there during the protected pandemic period, they have no additional protections. So they're back to a regular 3-day, not the new one with all the disclosures that we're required to use until the 31st of March. So keep that in mind. If you've been sitting on vacants, you know somebody that's sitting on vacants, tell them the grunion are running and now's the time. Get them on the market. Get them on the market. Get them on the market. Because we need to be able to collect those higher rents as long as we can, because it's not going to last forever. This bubble will burst, I promise. It's a matter of when, not if. All right, anybody have any questions or something that you want me to touch on that you need more clarity? I'd be more than happy to help assist you with that. You say we should raise rents on April 1st. Does that mean we can serve the 30-day of rent increase in March? No, it means you don't even serve the notice till April Fool's Day. The reason I say that is the protected period ends on March 31st. Okay, so this is the way my brain works because I worked in the law firm for 5 years. So if the protected period ends on the 31st and we don't do anything until the 1st, they can't possibly say it's retaliatory. So don't even serve the notice until the protected period's over, because then they can't drag it through court and say you retaliated, blah, 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 blah. You didn't even serve the notice until the protected period ended. It's just the best way to help protect you. Can we use the juicy? 3.6 CPI. It depends. CPI changes every year, I believe in April. So you might have a new CPI by then. And I don't know if you're City of LA that can only do the CPI or if you're subject to the rent stabilization. I'm sorry, if you're subject to statewide rent 1482, then you're limited to the CPI plus 5% annually. That's the statewide. So statewide rent control is 5% plus the CPI. So if your CPI in your area and they change by zip codes, the CPI changes by zip code, just so you know. If your CPI is 3.6%, then, and you have the statewide rent control, then you can raise the rent to 8.5%. Hold on, I saw one more thing that you just mentioned and it clicked. What is the correct CPI you used to comment? Okay, Ed, I don't believe commercial tenants have protections at all anymore.
Okay.
And that's
I have a commercial lease that has built-in increases like built into it. And I just need to know where do I find that figure? I Googled it and I saw different figures for each month. So I just use the figure for the month that the increase was supposed to go into effect.
Is it telling you that it's going to raise the rent by the CPI and not a solid dollar amount in the
Correct. Correct. Yes.
So you need to look up the CPI by the zip code. Consumer Price Index, Department of Consumer Affairs, I think. No.
Okay.
Yeah?
I think so. Hold on, let me look.
I think so too, but double check with me. I'm afraid the CPI will drop to nothing in April 2022. Here's me talking to you. I hear you. I feel you. I don't think that'll happen. It's usually based on the previous year. And because we have such a rapid rate of inflation this year, I think the CPI for next year will be fine. It's the following year I'm going to be concerned about. Not 2022, but 2023 is where I'm scared that the CPI will drop considerably, but not in 2022. I don't think it'll drop until 2023, but please know that my crystal ball is broken.
So Patty, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I found this website. It's bls.gov. It says Consumer Price Index Los Angeles. And then it has a table where it has the months listed and the years. And so do I go to, like, if it was supposed to go into effect in June, should I just go to June 2021 and use that figure where it says 4.0, for example?
If that's what the CPI is in that area, exactly. You got it.
Okay, cool. Will do.
And it's cool. Broke it down by month because some people don't get that.
Right.
Diana, because of the extension of Los Angeles County is now until January, tenants have another 6 months of protections. Is the new date June instead of April for LA County? Because of the extension in LA County's extension is until March 31st of 2022. So April Fool's Day would be the very first day that they have to do something. LA County's protections aren't until January. It's the no evictions that's until January. So you can still evict for cause. It's you can't evict for non-cause until January. And then they still have additional protections until March 31st, the way the law is written. Does that make sense to you? Because I don't know where the June date is coming, unless I said June and
Oh man, this person is crazy.
I'm going to have a party on March 31st. Okay, call me. I'm coming. Where are we going? What are we doing? Because I want to party with you. Oh, goodness. What a nightmare. Okay, I see something coming from Anna. Hang on, I clicked the wrong button. Click. Don't end the meeting. I'm having a day, you guys. Life is happening to me. Patty, can a tenant that lives in LARSO unit is their current on their rent, but now they want to allow a friend to stay with them and a pet that is not authorized? Are they protected to where there is nothing I can do about it and say no, that they have to leave? Here's me talking to you. If they bring in an additional occupant, they're protected by the pandemic protected period, which has been extended for LA County or LARSO for a year.
This person is crazy.
So we need to be mindful of that. The pet that's not authorized, for it, but if they say that it's an emotional support animal, it's no different than them using a wheelchair. It's an assistive device for a disabled person is how it needs to be looked at. So, and because you're in, quite frankly, Anna, the devil's cauldron of LARSO, I mean, let's face it, I wouldn't poke the bear. Okay. Once the protected period's ending, then they have to leave. If you add them to a lease, then they become the tenant. See how that works? So once the protected period ends, they have to leave. Then you can serve notice they're in violation of their lease contract, unauthorized, etc. Okay. If you do that now, they're just going to scream COVID protected period, and you're going to be tied up legal forever, and it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. And we don't need that. So just something to think about. Hope that's a good question. Okay, somebody's got their radio on. I'm like, somebody please mute yourself. I'm trying to find who it is.
It's Margot. It's Margot.
Okay, thank you. I found the mute button. Thank you for helping me, you guys. I fixed it. April, do you have any updates for us on the money?
I just wanted to share something that I discovered this week for people that are still they have tenants that are delinquent, but they've received payments from the rent relief program. Most of those people got approved for additional assistance. So when they log in,
April, do me a favor. Say that one more time, because you just got everybody's attention. What do you mean?
Yes, they
and we're seeing
actually
this
got
a lot,
additional assistance.
And how many months of their rent is being paid for now?
Till the end of the year.
And are they paying the full 100%?
Yes, they are.
Hey, is everybody paying attention? If your tenant owes you money during the protected period, go apply for the funds. Damn it. We're all paying for it anyway, no matter what. So you might as well go get your piece of the pie.
Yes. The tenant actually is notified by email, but some of the tenants are not receiving the emails. But what you can instruct your tenant to do is to log back into the portal. As soon as they log in, it says, congratulations, you were approved for additional assistance. Please submit your income verification, and an updated ledger.
Is everybody paying attention? Does anybody have a question for April? Because come on, how cool is that? And I'm just talking out loud. If we get paid and the tenant gets paid, okay, then everybody's happy. You get a clean slate. Everybody's happy moving forward. The tenant feels like they got a break. You got paid. Everybody's happy. It keeps that balance, right? And at the end of the day, we're all paying for it anyway, folks. So utilize it. Ed wants to know if you can come work for him, April. When I called him, he told me I need to wait an additional 60 recertification period to receive the funds through December.
Yes, there is a recertification period, but you are going to get paid. The tenant still has to pay their 25% though.
Okay. I'm just happy that owners are getting paid. I'm ecstatic to hear this because it's been so damn scary for so damn long. So do you understand that part? I'm in my friend's car and I just wrapped a gummy bear down in the seat. Shh. I can't find it. Oops. All right, anybody have anything else? So we got an update on the money. They're paying funds through December. That's a little bit of a godsend for us, you guys, because it's going to give us some room to breathe. It's going to give the tenant room to breathe. And that's going to keep the balance right. I mean, come on, they just got free rent. Well, free to them.
Hi, Patty. This is Laura. I have a question. So I understand. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I said just shoot them. I'm
Oh,
kidding.
excellent. So I appreciate the information regarding the tenant being sent the email link in order to apply. My tenant has not been able to do that, and an email has not been sent. So, but I do want to comment that the apartment association created a form that's a 3-day notice, but it goes until March. And so
Yes, that's the new 3-day notice that's required for tenants that lived in the property during the protected period.
Yes, but it sounds like the state is actually covering them until March.
Okay, well, you need to know that the funds that came out, they could extend it again and pay it through March. Okay, but right now they're paying through December.
Okay, so
as they disperse funds, what they'll do is the people there where they're still in need is they'll continue to pay until those funds are exhausted.
Got it. So I know that they're not required to pay the 25% come October. My tenant has decided to only pay 25% for October. I've provided the 3-day notice. She has not. I have not received note that she's applied for the funds through the state portal.
Have you applied through the state portal for just October's rent?
I you know what, I understood I could not until she got that link. It would open it up.
Tenants can no longer apply.
Okay.
Okay. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Tenants can no longer apply. Their protected period ended in October. No, I'm sorry, September 30th. I'm okay. I promise you guys, I haven't slept much. Okay. It's been a long couple days. So their protected period, their fund period has ended for them to apply for the 25%. The 25% that the tenants could pay ended. October 1st, full amount is due across the board, across the state. Okay, so if they're only paying you 25% for October's rent, they're sadly mistaken on how they interpreted the extension. You could serve them with a new 3-day notice. Then you need to apply with the state of California for the landlord, basically putting the state on notice that you're going to make this person homeless in the next 6 months unless they pay you. And then you have to wait 20 days and you can file the eviction. We anticipate that the evictions on the new 3-day notice will go much quicker through the system because they cannot cry COVID.
Right. Okay.
So when they saw the extension in the city or the county, they may think they only have to pay 25%, and that's not how it works. So I would tell them, thank you for the quarter of the rent that was paid, but 3/4 is still due. And you may have misunderstood the restrictions, but the full month of rent is due for the month of October going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Because
I
I
know.
could tell you right now, your tenant got a wild hair in the, and that's the kind of tenant that will convince you or try to convince you that the sky is purple. In other words, they read it this way. Don't get involved in that. You're just going to end up wanting to pull out your own hair. I know, that's why I'm bald on one side of my head. I'm kidding.
Ah,
But it's frustrating when they interpret things one way and then try to convince you that that's the way it should be.
right. Thank you. That was
So-
really helpful.
And I've had tenants do that to the point where I've actually had to call my managing broker because I've gotten so twisted up in what they've construed and thrown at me, and ask them, I have 21 days to do a disposition of security deposit, right? Because they're trying to tell me I have 12 days. And the way they explained it, it made sense to me, but it doesn't have any rhyme or reason. It's just the way they interpret things. So the first thing I do is bring to their attention that the full month of rent is due. The 25/75 period is done and over with throughout the whole state of California. And you really hate to have to evict them, but the full rent's due. Here's a 3-day notice.
Right. And then again, if she decides to keep doing this for the next month, even though I've issued a 3-day notice, if I do not receive response from the state on the rental assistance, then I need to proceed.
I don't know that the state is going to actually pay you within that 20 days. What that is doing is telling the state that you intend to make that person homeless in the next 6 months because they didn't pay you. Once the state sees how many people have applied for funds for just October, they may extend the funds so that half their state isn't homeless.
Right. So one of the questions that the COVID assistance asks is whether you intend to evict the tenant. And for sake of funding, how do you respond to that? Like,
In October, for October's rent, you tell them you intend to evict the tenant. Why? The protected period's over.
right.
If you're in LA County or LARSO, I definitely talk to your legal counsel. I'm being very honest with you. You don't want to get in a legal battle right now. It's a nightmare. There's no case law. 98% of all cases are being contested. 98%.
Right. And I'm in unincorporated LA County. So
So you're still in the devil's cauldron, just not in the middle of the pot. You're on the side of the pot.
yes.
Did she try
So-
cash for keys, Abby?
Yep, you can always try cash for keys. I did find out from legal counsel, there is no restrictions currently for cash for keys. So at one point we thought LA City had stopped landlords from being able to utilize cash for keys. That's not the case. That did not go through. You can do cash, you can offer cash for keys anymore. But the key, folks, is to offer them enough money that they go. And please know, with supply and demand, there's not much places they can go.
Right. Yeah, there's no incentive for her to move, especially the state's going to continue to
Okay, but
protect her.
let me ask you a question. If I gave you $30,000 right now, would you move?
No.
If I gave you $40,000 right now, would you move?
I mean, it's a, you know, obviously I would say no, I own my home, but for her,
But
I
I'm
don't
asking
think so.
you. I get that you own your house, but I'm asking you. Maybe I want to buy it, okay? I'm going to pay full price, whatever.
Yes, yes, but this, I mean, I think a lot of people are in the same situation, that people who are milking the system are,
Exactly. And I'll tell you right now who's milking the system the worst. Want to guess?
undocumented.
No. The tenant advocate groups.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Basta, they're all milking that system right away. And just so everybody knows, that when the tenant hires them, they're actually paying them 33 and 1/3% in a retainer of all the monies awarded to them. So when you have to pay them 50,000, when Basta says to you, we want $150,000 to get them out, just know that they're getting 1/3 of the money. That's why they come up with ludicrous prices for relocation. Their foot's in the pocket. They get 1/3 of that.
Right.
So keep that in mind. We don't want to be in a legal battle. It's expensive. Hang on, let me look at something. Where can I get a 3-day notice in Spanish? My apartment association does not have it. I have a question for you. Have you served them notices in Spanish before? Because once you serve one notice in Spanish, you have to do everything in Spanish. If you haven't served them anything in Spanish, then keep it in English. It's their job to translate it, not yours. Also, please take note, courts in California only do cases in English and have to get an interpreter to come in. You don't want to have an interpreter explain to the judge what your lease says. And I don't use documents in Spanish because I can't understand them. And if I don't know the terms, how can I do my job properly? You want a snack? I'll give you a snack. Mommy's coming right now. The 3-year-old woke up from his nap, you guys. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about? Because I got to get a little man a banana. You want a banana? You want a cookie? No. I have a cookie. We'll go get mom, okay? All right. Anybody have anything else? Because I don't want to make you deal with the
Quick
crying
question,
3-year-old.
Patty. This
Yes.
is David. A quick question. Suppose a tenant is 3 months behind, all of a sudden in October starts paying some money. Do I apply this to back due rent or for month of October?
She paid in October.
Yeah, she started paying, in October some money. Do I apply it to back rent due
Nope. Apply it to the month you received it in. No.
in October?
Yes. You only had to do that during the protected period, apply it and when you received it in, and now you can apply it wherever you want.
Okay, so I can apply it to months before or apply for October, whatever I wish to do? Is that what you said?
I would, honestly, if I were you, I would apply it to October.
Well, she-
October starts fresh and new. Don't
I
apply
know.
it to the past due
Patty,
balance. Yeah.
The problem is she never cooperated to fill out any COVID forms and stuff like that. So that's still hanging, but she's being cooperative and she wants to catch up. So she started paying again. So I should apply it.
Tell her to, did she apply for the government funds?
She did, but she doesn't do follow-ups. I don't know why. She's very complacent. So I'm tired of that. So, but she.
Well, I
she
would
can-
assume that she manipulated the system and doesn't want the government in her
Right.
business, but I'm only
Right.
assuming.
Right. So, but she's now, she doesn't want to go anywhere else and she wants to stay and she wants to catch up. So she started paying now more than, hopefully more than what she owes. This is what
So
she's,
apply the full amount of rent to October and any past due balance, then you can put it backwards into the pandemic period. But I'd
Okay.
pay this month's rent first and not apply it to a previous month's balance just because the protected period has ended. And they were very specific in legislation on how we did our accounting during the pandemic period. And just so everybody knows, during the pandemic period, you cannot charge late fees, number one. Also, you have to apply any funds that came in during the month you received them. So if you got no money in March, April, May, June, July, and August, and then you got $1,000 in September, you can't apply that money for March. It goes to September. Okay, there's very specific rules in how we do our accounting process during the protected period. So here's my opinion, not my advice. For those of us that use accounting software programs, leave your program alone. Take your late fees out of there. Don't try to rewrite history. If you have to go to court for any reason, handwrite a ledger for 16 months. It should take you about 15 minutes. Use that as your ledger when you go to court for the protected period. It's much easier than trying to rewrite your accounting software. You're welcome. A little tip and trick for me. Okay, anybody have anything else? I'm gonna tend to a 3-year-old who's happy now. I gave him a cookie, but now his mom's gonna be mad. After the moratorium ends, can I redraw the rental contract in English? No, you can't. Once you start in a specific language, it has to stay in that language. It's a pain to find notices in Spanish. I know, that's why I never serve a notice in another language, because once you do it, you have to stick to it. And I've never seen a 3-day notice to pay rent in Spanish. Let that ponder for a few minutes. What about if someone didn't pay for the last 6 months and suddenly has a check for $5,000, but wants to apply it to future rent after October? You have to apply it to future rent for October and then going forward. If they don't want to apply it to the protected period of the pandemic, have them put something in writing to that effect. And when I say in writing, you guys, I'm talking pen and ink, okay? Not an email, not a text message, okay? Anybody have anything else? I got to get this little guy some juice. Find the gummy bear I dropped in the car seat. All right, you guys, I'm going to get out of here. If you guys need me, you know how to hunt me down. I should be back in California next week. Thank you so much. And you guys have a great day. Bye.